I stayed the night. We just basically hung out and opened gifts and had family over for like a straight 36 hours. It was a lot of fun.
Nice. My God, your drink for the first time ever doesn't blend into your green screen.
Well, because there is a Flugelgram that is attempting to kick my ass, so I need electrolytes.
At least the bottle blends in.
Thank God it does. It does. Yeah, I'll take it.
You ever think about the fact that there's no electricity in electrolytes?
I was just thinking that.
I mean, have you ever stopped to like put a light bulb into it and see what happens, Mega? You ever thought about that?
No, I have. That's why I'm telling you for a fact. Do you think I'm not somebody of scientific research, Hunter?
Have you ever lit a light bulb with a potato?
If we want to use that as an official term, sure.
Listen, I could tell you right now what the scientific method is, and I don't think you could do the same.
Mega, are you one of the kids that shoved a fork into a socket?
What the fuck?
No, I did not, because that would be stupid. What I did is I unscrewed a plugged-in lamp and shoved my phone into or my thumb into that.
See, that's understandable. All right, fair enough. You were gonna become one with the lamp. What if you would have lit up? Honestly,
I mean, that was the plan. I was trying to light up.
Okay, well, what was the plan after that? You lit up.
Just be lit.
What plan?
Yeah. Honestly, that's.
Is there a plan beyond being lit, or?
I mean, it's kind of just what you make out of it, I guess.
I mean, it could be worse. You could be my science teacher in high school, who she literally had a microwave where the whole point of the microwave is when people would ask what happens if you put X in a microwave, she would put it in the microwave. First thing she did was a light bulb.
It just
put a fork in after that.
How did that go?
The light bulb exploded. It lit up for like half a second, but then it just went boom.
That's cool.
That's about right. That's very
Yeah.
cool.
I'm pretty sure she has a felony.
I mean, for the sake of science, it does sound fun.
Yeah, you can commit anything and just say it's for science, and you're probably get away with it.
I don't know about that. I feel like
not
I feel like if you violated the Geneva Convention, like
Yes.
I feel like there'd be some non-scientific claims on that one.
Yes, I killed this.
I don't know.
Man with my car for science.
I don't know. You can get. I don't know. You can go with a lot of things with science. I don't know. I was gonna make a joke, but then Dex would have to do the old. I can't call it that.
The old Huntertain edit.
Yeah, we'll call it that. Don't commit war crimes, ladies and gentlemen. That's the moral of the story.
Okay, but listen. Do you know how easy it is to commit war crimes? Like, have you ever actually read the Geneva Convention?
Honestly, it feels like almost nobody has gone all the way to.
No, I have. Like, genuinely, it's actually a fun fact. Did you know that most elementary schoolers violate the teachers of elementary schoolers violate the Geneva Convention? Like, anything classified as like a group punishment where not everybody, like, if say like one little kid like stole something, right? And the teacher's like, nobody's going outside until I know who stole it. Like, that technically violates the Geneva Convention. Group punishment of innocent people.
Okay. So,
So Monkeyshines, this is what this podcast normally.
This is what goes on in my head. What are you talking about?
This is beautiful. I love this.
This is honestly the most average start to this podcast ever. I'll gladly take it.
No.
Oh, dear God. But everyone, welcome back to episode number 48 of For the Love of Prod. As always, I am joined by Huntertain and Megalass, and our guest this week is Monkeyshines. Man, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, like I said, these are the voices in my head. So we just shifted right on into recording, and it made all the sense in the whole wide world.
Yeah, that's the thing. I always just kind of start recording whenever. So the moment I got Hunter's cam and it de-blurified or actually cleared up, I was like, okay, hit record, start. We've been going for 4 minutes at this point.
Oh boy, okay.
So we have everything with war crimes, Geneva Convention, doing it for science.
Exploding light bulbs.
True.
Going back to that, when did you guys fuck up the first time and put aluminum foil into the microwave? Because I messed up and put a Pop-Tart in.
I have not. Well, no, I'm pretty sure I did that at some point. I don't remember the last time, but I never like explicitly let's see what happens. I'm sure it's happened at some point.
I I was just an idiot and put a Pop-Tart into a microwave because there wasn't a toaster.
Definitely done that before
I
too.
mean,
100%.
I've done that, not necessarily with the wrapping on it. I'm sure I did. Honest to goodness, I don't remember it, which is probably for the best.
Sometimes there have been times where I don't realize, like, I went to Chick-fil-A and I ate some fries. It was a good fry, and I had a chicken sandwich left over. Didn't realize the containers in there have like aluminum in there. So I go to start it, and you hear that sound before things start going wrong with aluminum.
Mhm.
And survival instinct took over. I ran over, opened it up. It was fine. My microwave still functions as is, but as a stark reminder to always check your containers before you put them into devices.
My microwave, perfectly fine. There's just a giant black spot in it.
Yeah, I can't tell what it was from, but
Megan, when was the first time you put aluminum foil into the microwave?
I didn't, because we didn't have a microwave, and when we did, you know what? Let me not finish that the way I was about to, because I don't think we need parental trauma right now. But long story short, I was not allowed to use things without supervision in my house. Smile. That'll be the nice way I put it.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay, let's move on here a little bit now. Monkeyshines, I want to give you the floor here right now to kind of give it a brief introduction of yourself. Just kind of tell us like what games you work in and what roles you normally cover, and then we'll get into everything else.
Yeah, sure, 100%. So I got into the casting scene and production as well through Rocket League. So that's basically where I live. That's my wheelhouse. That's one thing that I've found with me personally. It's like when I get involved in something, when I find a niche, I just want to learn everything about that. It is a hyper fixation, hyper focus, and I just drill down consistently. So I've been comfortable. I've been able to perform well. People have enjoyed it. So like it's my lane, and I'm pretty good at it. So there we go. Um, I also have like a great community. I've been doing these private matches, viewer games called Wholesome League, and that's just improved more and more and more in terms of production. I'm sure I'll talk about that a little bit later on. But really for me, it's not only been about the casting and being able to expand on that. I've been with the 100x35 for 2 years now. We're just able to go to Copenhagen for that. That was fun. But just yeah, as time has gone on, not only have I had that from the professional aspects with Rocket League, I've also been able to see the community grow as a result of like the viewer games. And just today, we have these streams where we drop clips from our own games and we go through them and we'll rate them. And then one thing that we're going to be starting on Wednesday for the very first time is we're actually going to get replays of matches and go back and kind of break them down. We're going to be watching games from USA France. But yeah, it's one thing where we try to it's great because like I'll have the opportunity to kind of practice my stuff, but then you have the interaction with the community at the same time. So it gives us all the opportunity to kind of they raise their gameplay. I get to have cast practice. It helps so many people just go out and have a good time.
Yeah, and I imagine we'll probably talk about Wholesome League and 100x35 a little bit later and everything else that kind of do in Rocket League. But let's actually get into the two normal questions that we normally have. And I kind of told you what they were already here, and you kind of briefly mentioned it there. But this is a time to give you a little bit more of a chance to go in depth with it. So, what got you into esports, and what got you into esports prod in general?
Yeah. So it's kind of you kind of heard the shift there, I think, of what I just said, but to give it proper backing, because I was ready to go off, but I'm like, should we do that just yet? So if you like or dislike my casting, the reason will be the same. So back in 2021, I moved into where I'm currently at. Been here for quite some time. I'm a single dad. My son's here, main parent. And I wanted to do something with him that wasn't especially physically taxing because a whole bunch of stuff that I've got to do, a lot of stressors, things like that. At the time, he was playing a lot of Fortnite and Rocket League. Fortnite, I'm just not a fan of shooters necessarily, at least for myself. I've already got enough stress and I can like feel myself getting into that world and then it's just all over the place. But with Rocket League, I was like, oh, okay, soccer/football and cars, like that's pretty cool. Like I know the basis of that sport and I was like, oh, this seems pretty cool. Going in, like, again, had no concept of mechanics or anything like that whatsoever, but still had a great time, able to sit down, spend time with him. He had a good time, like great. As time went along, I was like, oh, let's sit down and see what the pros are about, the folks that are really, really good that put all this time in. And it was great. I will pause here, step to the side. I was actually in what I call legacy sports. So American football, think American football, basketball, baseball, etc. for 20 years as a sports writer. I covered college football primarily, college sports, but most of it was college football. So I did have some experience with like radio guest spots. I did, main hosting duties for a bit, also podcasts. So a lot of it wasn't like totally out of what I was familiar with, right? I'd certainly gone and talked with individuals about, teams and things like that. So once it came to once I came to see like RLCS and things like that, and I heard the caster and everything, I'm like, that looks incredibly fun, right? Because just unfortunately, the market that I was in, very niche, and there were so few spots, right? There was just not really a way to wedge yourself in there. So I find though that in esports there's a lot more of those opportunity. You can do it kind of yourself almost, not necessarily saying you're going to get to the tippy top of the totem pole that way, but you can at least get involved and have fun that way, which is what I always tell people who want to get involved. I say, go out there, see if you actually have fun with it, right? Like if you're going to do Rocket League, for example, jump in friends matches, go out there on Twitch or whatever, or even just, in a VC or whatever, and have fun with that. And if you enjoy that, like, don't stress about needing all of the great hardware or anything like that. Just find that enjoyment. But I was eventually going around because I was actually trying to get a little bit better, trying to find a proper community. And eventually I ended up finding one where like you have to be 30 years of age plus. Like they do actually go through the procedure and everything to find out if that is in fact the case. Older guy, it's just kind of nice to be able to have that element as well. So settling in with them, eventually it got to the point where they were being a little bit more competitive in spaces, amateur leagues and stuff like that. And I'm like, oh, hey, I wanted to get involved in casting. Let me go out. Let's do this. And I started out there, and time goes on. I jump out of there into some different communities, and then I start jumping into amateur leagues, had the opportunity to shift with the 100x35, and it has just continued to grow and grow and grow. And it was just something that as I went along, whether it was my own viewer games with Wholesome League, trying to make that huge moment for just people coming through regardless of rank or whatever, it just kind of snowballed. And as far as getting into production, kind of tapping on what I just said, my goal with Wholesome League, like initially I just started as a playing with viewer stream. Like I started in June of 2023, and then I think about September, I'm like, oh, people do this kind of stuff, gives me the opportunity to meet folks or play alongside, other folks, But eventually I'm like, this would be a great way to be able to get some casting practice, right? Sit down, people have fun, just like I said, So that went on, and eventually it got to be like a stream in and of itself. It didn't really have that branding just yet, but it was what it was, kind of casting practice. But as time goes along, I'm like, okay, I have the opportunity to go out there, cast amateur leagues eventually, go ahead and do some RLCS qualifiers and stuff like that. And I'm like, it would be so amazing to be able to take these kind of moments that, I mean, you got people that grind, and they put in so much work. I was like, it would be great if I could bring this to a silver, right? People that are just getting in the game, or any rank in between. Like, no matter what, you would get the casting that I would provide for like 100x35, but you get it in a fun space, right? But as time went on, it kind of overlapped with 100x35 or amateur leagues. I'm an individual that, because I kind of come from that legacy mindset, I want it to look really nice, really professional. I want you to get a proper experience, right? So as time went along, like I played around with more in Photoshop, got to know more about Barl and things like that. And I just found it, getting better and better and better, overlays getting better. Eventually, bringing in transitions, hype chambers, stuff like that. So now we are to the point over 2 years now with that. People come in, and it's kind of a double-edged sword, because legitimately I will have people come in and they're like, can I get involved? Like, do I have to sign up for this or whatever? Like, no, you are literally have to jump into my server and get ready to go. So yeah, it's just one of those things where I have fun. I've had other folks, other casters come in. I've had other folks who have done production, they've been very, very generous to help me out in terms of like hype chambers, transitions, all that kind of stuff. So it's been an opportunity for them to kind of get some practice in and help out. So it's just kind of like layered and layered and layered, so people are able to go out there and get that shine. Oh, no, pun intended. Along with me again, getting the opportunity to get some casting practice and so on and so on. So it overlaps. When I'm able to find like something for Wholesome League for those games, I can shift that over to 100x35 and things like that. So it really it just blends together that way. So if I was able to find kind of a jump forward in one, traditionally that would find itself over in the other. Now, of course, I'm very, very lucky to oftentimes have a proper producer. So all I have to do is show up and talk, and that thing, which honest to God, after doing everything for so long feels weird. I'm just like, where's the button to press? What do I have to do over here? You know what I mean? So
I think Hunter would know what you're kind of getting to there, because me and him have been doing Basic League for Overwatch, and he's running the stream, he's casting, he's also the one who has to make sure, you know, scenes are getting changed, he's the observer in it. Like, he would understand doing everything, and like like, again, I'll let him talk here in a moment. When he goes in just the leagues we normally cast in, and he doesn't have to do any of that, I feel like there's probably this giant weight that's taken off his shoulders. Am I right with that, Hunter?
That's 100% what it is, to the point where there is a initial level of PTSD where I will go into a cast, and suddenly I will hit like F4 to change, and I'm like, wait, that's right, I don't have to do this. I don't have to worry about this right now.
Why do I have Overwatch open?
It's like phantom limb syndrome, you know what I mean? It's like you're going for like the stream deck and stuff like that. Oh wait, I don't have to do that now. I just eyes forward.
Oh man.
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just to the point where it's sometimes weird when I don't have it. It's like, okay, all right. I trust my observer to do their job. They are professionals.
No, and I will say this about Wholesome League, because especially in Overwatch, which is the game that probably the three of us here would call our primary game, it's very rare to find actual leagues who put together like tiers for bronze, silver, gold. I think there have been gold leagues in the past, but they've kind of faded away as time has gone on. And like, if I played Rocket League right now, I would probably be perfect for Wholesome League, because God, do I suck.
Now, okay, so I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but no, by all means, please finish your thought.
No, I was gonna say, like, God, do I suck? Because I feel like the last time I actually played the rank, I was like silver or gold or something like that.
It happens. I mean, it's LV. But the thing is, though, I will say this: I kind of screwed myself over with the branding, because people do think it's an actual league. I'm like, I just removed Rocket and put Wholesome. Like, I seriously, I think because, like I said, as it grows and looks better and better, people are thinking like it's an actual league. So what we actually do, the whole idea behind it, absolutely no toxicity. I ban people if you are toxic. Like, we'll give you a warning unless it's like over the top, but it's the opportunity for people to come in and not be sweaty, not be salty. And that is hard for some people with that competitive edge and that competitive mindset to come into, and they feel like, oh my God, I can actually turn it off. I don't have to be like on here. But what we do, we actually have a custom MMR bot where we can get any rank. And traditionally, we don't get bronzes. We have had silvers. You could be silver, you could be bronze, and you could end up playing with, we have had bubble pros, and we have had retired coaches and everything in between. Our standard, like our average in terms of what we traditionally have in the server, we probably mostly have GCs, anywhere between GC1 and GC3, but everybody is welcome. So what the bot does, it actually has basically a mathematical system, a numerical value for every rank, and then it tries to split those up so it's about as even as possible. So if you were playing, a match with friends, you might be like, okay, Dex is silver 2, but Hunter is a GC3, so let's try to make it as even as possible. You know what I mean? And of course, Megas choose the SSL, Bubble Pro, et cetera, et cetera. So we, maybe a 3v1 situation. But the whole idea is to bring that level of kind of fairness, but it's also kind of a challenge because every single rank has like sort of their own meta and kind of stereotypes to it. So you have to layer that in. But I'm actually redoing the bot to take that kind of stuff into account. So it's not necessarily that there's tiers, it's that you are welcome and encouraged to play despite you may think like you're terrible and you don't belong. Quite the opposite. Like, we have genuinely had silvers and golds come in and hype them up because they will play over and beyond that. And like, yeah, for GCs, SSLs, etc., they go out there, they do kind of stuff all the time. But we are very much about lifting each other up. And there's, I mean, it's kind of joking, but kind of not. And then we call it the Wholesome League buff. We will have people go out there, especially lower ranks, play with the more mature ranks or whatever, the people that have been able to go out there, learn more mechs and things like that. They'll be able to take that back to their rank and improve because they'll have a level of confidence amongst higher skill. They can take that back to their own rank and just end up popping off. I mean, we have actually had GC3s end up going over into SSLs as well, just because they've learned a way to really focus their mental. And that is another thing that I don't think a lot of people know about Wholesome League is it is very much layered. It's not just about playing Rocket League private matches. It's also about encouraging positive mental health and providing a space where everybody it's inclusive. Where it's just a place where so much happens in the world, right? That can be challenging, that can be stressful and everything. And it's providing a space where for a few hours you can come in, you can have fun. You don't need to stress about that. You don't need to be sweaty, salty, and that kind of stuff. We're here, we're vibing as a community. It's all cool. That happens to be around Rocket League. So regardless of rank, you're a human being. We're just trying to vibe. Like, that is it. But, the glitz, the glamour, and everything like that. I even, by the way, I don't know if you guys know this whatsoever about it, but I do on Saturdays or on the weekends, I dress up shirt and tie just like I would for, days 2, 3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm doing like everything that I would normally do when you come through and you watch 100x35 or whoever on my channel. That's how I look. I literally had to change up the overlay because I was using the same one for like RLCS quals as Wholesome League, and people were coming in like, "What are we gonna play?" I was like, "I'm casting this like this is Swiss," So I literally changed up the overlay. So like when I do playing with viewers versus Wholesome League versus RLCS, you will see different overlays kind of as a visual cue. But it's gotten to the point where the Wholesome League now, like, I've had a logo for a while. I actually have 2 teams. We have the Sapphire Shock, Tangerine Dream. Those are our traditional teams. But then, like, on Christmas, we have the Tinsel Titans and the Candy Cane Crush. There'll be times like for Halloween, I've come in now for 3 years as Captain Monkeyshines, where I will cast like a pirate in a pirate accent for hours on end. And I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah. So it's getting to the point now where the production's getting so good. I actually ended up, because again, this is just how my brain works. So you no doubt have watched, sports, football, basketball, whatever, and they'll have that little Twitter hashtag in the upper right. I now have one of those, TIWL. This is Wholesome League. So genuinely trying to provide like a real deal sports broadcast, just all of that element. The other thing I will say, whether it's my casting or whether it's this, I am a huge professional wrestling fan going back a long time. So that spectacle really helps. It's like, not only do I take a lot of that in and put in my casting as well, I do have some inspiration there, but also just in terms of that experience, that comes into play as well. And that, I think, just really takes it to the next level. So genuinely people will come in and play and they will be legit nervous of so many different ranks. They'll be like, "Oh my God, I'm like, why are you being nervous? We're just kind of doing the thing. I'm just doing this. We're just out here." So that's always cool to me when people come in and they're kind of jittery and everything, like they're going out there getting properly casted and everything by a professional. But then I always love it when after that very first game, they'll come out and I'll be, "So what did you think?" And they'll be, "Oh man, it was so much fun." And seriously, like that's what I love to hear. I also have kind of a tradition when somebody goes out and they get their very first goal on the Wholesome League roster, as I call it. I make a big deal of it. I want to build it up. Of course, whenever you come into the server, it's like you're part of the roster or whatever. But whenever that happens, I just like blow up big deal and just kind of add that "welcome to the roster," just kind of like this final comment, like you're officially part of it. So I really try to make it a big deal about everybody. So you could be silver, you could be whatever. You still belong regardless of your skill level.
And I mean, like, honestly, that is a great thing. It's something I kind of touched on. I feel like with Overwatch, it's something you don't see that often. Like, we have leagues out there where it's supposed to be for fun. Like events where it's supposed to be for fun, but you always get those one, two, or three teams that's like, "No, we're gonna treat this as if it's like an actual big thing." And there's other teams that are just like, "Yeah, we're random heroes, random roles, just gonna be swapping them up as often as we possibly can, just because we want to have some fun." It's something I kind of wish was there for Overwatch, but it probably is. I just don't know where it would be.
I think it's a tough dynamic too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? To be like, especially when it's a really, really competitive space, to be like, now chill. It's like that constant mindset when you go in those lobbies. I gotta pop off. I gotta be so good. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, like these two can probably attest to it a little bit. Whenever we just like get a group of 5 together of all of our friends and just play quick play, I'm the one there who's kind of just like, fuck it, I'm gonna do the dumbest thing. Like Hunter, like I know Hunter's definitely been there for some of it. I know Mega's definitely been there for some of it. Like I'll pick the worst hero. I'll do something really, really stupid just to try to have some fun.
Hey, listen. I was gonna say, I think my fun can't be topped. I have the 20 deaths per 10 Lucio. I get to bust out every single time we're playing. Like it's great because like having that joy and whimsy. Like sitting here and thinking about it, it really kind of sucks that there really isn't that in Overwatch. I know, like certain tournaments have like tried to kind of foster a dynamic with that. Like I know kind of that's almost the intent of Snowdown because you're allowed to form your own teams and like get your friends together and stuff like that. But yeah, nobody ever chills because all it takes is one team try harding, then somebody else is like, well, now we got to try, and then it just kind of spreads.
Yeah, I was kind of referencing BPL that entire time. Like, hey, just have some fun, but it always, I forget like who it normally is. It's whatever team Brozone is. I feel like most of the time, I feel like that's the team that tries hard, but they try hard doing the dumbest things. But let's move away from that. Actually, get into the second part of the question here. So, and you did talk about it here already, Monkeyshines. But what keeps you coming back to it? Like you said, you have 100 x35, you have Wholesome League. But if other than those things, what kind of is the driving force that keeps you really coming back to doing stuff in esports?
It's a good question. I mean, I really enjoy storytelling. When it comes to my casting, a big element is storytelling. So for example, if you got a best of 5, right? We go out there, we have the first game. Okay, so for me, it's about, all right, the team that lost, how are they going to be able to respond? Especially if it's like a crushing loss, it's a Brazil 7-1. How are they going to be able to respond? And then you were able to say, okay, within these first 30 to 60 seconds, this, that, and the other, and it's layered. And one thing that I try to do throughout the course of it, not only go back to like, okay, it's game 4. Okay, well, we saw this in game number 1, game number 2, but they've been able to switch things around and really bring that to it. Again, that experience. Another thing that I try to do is I try to add in the mental aspect. Okay, a person did this. Why did they do it? What might they have been feeling in that moment? To try to bring that element to it. So for me to have that nuanced experience, I see how people react to it and they enjoy it to that degree, and we are both getting something out of it. I like telling a story, and people like being told a story where somebody is emotionally invested. I do get emotionally invested to the point where players are just like, oh my God, how can somebody take it this seriously? It's just genuinely fun. I like to provide that experience, right? It's a thing where just, you make people feel good. You show up, you do that kind of thing. And like, I always wanted the opportunity to, in legacy sports, be able to go out there and do it. It's just all about telling that story, right? Putting aside Wholesome League and everything like that, it's just being able to go out there and engage in that way, because I think just as human beings, that's one thing that this species as a whole has always enjoyed for eons and eons. It's just good, proper storytelling and getting involved in that and losing yourself and getting, that immersion, right? So being able to bring people into that, it might be Rocket League, it might be esports, but to be, and I think there's so much to that people don't appreciate. Another reason that I enjoy it is because, I mean, when I was growing up, I played American football when I was in high school. But to be part of like that, whether it's American football, baseball, whatever, you do have to be gifted to a degree, right? You have to be athletically gifted. You have to put in all this time, et cetera, et cetera. And some of us just simply aren't. Fair. But what esports does is it gives anybody that opportunity, maybe folks who aren't necessarily athletic gifted or whatever, to have that team element, to be able to get that, because I think there's a lot that can be said just for that dynamic and for so many people, especially kids, to be able to have that when maybe they don't really have anything else that they can say, this is mine, right? This is something that I can feel good about. To be able to go out there and get that competitive element in their lives, or to have that structure. Sometimes like that's what people absolutely need, is that structure to be like, okay, you're doing this, here's XYZ on that schedule, and you can see the benefits of that in real time, right? And then it becomes a moment for everybody, because then you go out there, you perform, you've got the casters out there doing their thing, the producers out there making everything look fantastic. So it's really, for me, one big story. And regardless of what's happening at the time around the world or everything, again, it's a thing where human beings just in general love a good story. We're suckers for a good story. People saying it's cinema, it's a script. Exactly. That's what I love being a part of, and I can engage it in the way that I can. And just like to see, how people respond to it. They enjoy it, and it's just something that everybody can be a part of and enjoy in their own special way.
Yeah, and like being able to actually follow a story, especially in esports, is so fun, and it's something that I think three of us here have been able to do from time to time, especially in the leagues that we cast in. But it's hard to actually follow a story sometimes, because you're not casting the same team every week. You might get them, maybe this week, maybe 2 weeks later. Then there's a playoff run, and you might say, okay, somehow, some way, I've casted this team's entire playoff run. Everything that's gone on. And I think Hunter and Mega can attest to this in some way, or at least talk about it in some way. The times they've been able to actually follow a story, man, it's so incredibly fun. Because like you said, everyone loves a story. You love being able to build something up and have that payoff be there. Whether it is, hey, they lost in the first round of the playoffs and had this incredible lower bracket run and make it back to the grand finals. Or like, I think the one that I remember the most is like, there was a team that had been in this league that we cast called CGL, for like as long as I've been in it. And 2 seasons ago, they said after they won the winners finals, like, yeah, no one knows this yet. This is our final season. We're all growing up. We're all gonna basically kind of go on and do other stuff. This is it for us. And it was like, what? Like, it was a team that ever since I joined this league had been in it. They had been a mainstay for me, and they basically said, yeah, hey, this is our last hurrah. So adding that on to the story, especially going into the grand finals, like it just, you're able to kind of go along with that so well. And I imagine Hunter and Mega have an example of something like that, right?
I mean, I know I do. Right off the top of my head, my favorite match I ever casted, Smelvin Industries, getting to see them win and stuff. Just because, again, following the storyline and like just being able to build a storyline for a match in general is just so rewarding, right? Because kind of like you were saying, Monkeyshines, it evolves past just, oh, there's a game on the screen. It's now there's a narrative. There's actually like something to be said. There's something to actually happen here. And I feel like that really, that can mean a lot, not just to the players, but to the people watching, because, adding that extra incentive and sort of stakes to something, it could just make it that much more entertaining.
Yeah. Honestly, I don't like to jump on that same train, but I'm pretty sure Mega, that was the match we did, correct? Am I
Yep.
thinking of the same one? Yeah. It's when you have someone that is around for so long, like you look back at something like the Shanghai Dragons, they go an entire year, they don't win a game. It didn't matter
0-40.
how much you liked the team. Yeah, literally. It did not matter how much you liked the team. Didn't matter how much you really knew about them. The fact that you go into that game and you watch them win their first game after 43 attempts, something about that does feel special. And there's a lot of places I wish I could have been in 2019, and the Blizzard Arena that day. I would give anything to be in that situation, because that has to be an ungodly feeling. And being able to watch a team like that go from 0-40 to 3 years later being Overwatch League champions, like that's an awesome thing to see.
Statistically, the worst sports team ever.
Literally, yes.
But yeah, like they had a turnaround and won the championship 3 years later. Granted, I don't think anyone from that roster was there, but that's esports.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll do some research. I doubt anybody stuck around though, or was able to.
Wasn't Geggery technically signed still? would be
Not
my
as a
only thing.
player, I don't think. I could check out. You never know.
I know she was there when they won stage 3, but Overwatch
Yes,
was 3.
100%. Yeah, Gaguri was still on for all of 2019. I know that, but we'll do some quick little research. In fact, I don't have to research for very long.
But here, while Hunter does the
think so.
research, like Monkeyshine, do you have a favorite time where you're able to tell a story throughout something? Is it something that with 100x35, or is it something with Wholesome League? Maybe something completely different. Like, do you have one that you will always say, like, hey, this is the one that I will tell anyone about if they want to talk about casting?
Yeah, I suppose so. Like there are several. The one that comes to mind immediately was for 100x35, and again, this goes back to story, right? So we had rosters. We swapped an individual out after out of six qualifiers. We did swap somebody out after the 5th, largely the same roster, but out of 6 attempts, we got to Swiss 5 times. We made it to match 5 4 times and never got past it. So that in and of itself, it was just heartbreaking every time we made it right there. And Coach Kamikaze, we had Resolent Pigeon. Those 3 are now part of Team Silence. And I was so happy for them because they were able to place top 8, I think it was in A this past one, and I was so happy for him. 100x35 actually running into him. But yeah, it was great for me to be able to see that. But the reason I say that, we get through the 6 qualifiers, right? Finally, you've now got the last chance qualifier in RLCS. So we go out there, different roster. It is Daunt, Devo, and Expert, which just for their ability was at that time a step above what Resonant Pigeon and at one point Scythe and then at one point Skippy were capable of in that moment. So go out there, able to get past Swiss, go 3-1. I forget, who did we run into? It was that version of Shopify, if I remember correctly, who would end up winning the LCQ. But we get to GSL, day number 4. And of course, again, I'm here for the content. We go out there. We went to, I think it was the best of 5. Went to match 5. Shouldn't have been there, but went out there, won that pretty handily. Went on, the team that we played just kind of, they were having a great day. We ran into a buzzsaw. We shift down. We got to beat a team to be able to advance. And of course, because this is just what I do, we go on into match 5. The beauty, though, not only that, but it went to where we had to go match 5 overtime, and we had been to so many overtimes that day. So we go in there, and it was absurd, man, because I remember it went 5 minutes 22 seconds that overtime, but at about 3 minutes 20, one of the players for Hey Bro was the team at the time, goes up, tries to set up the shot right in front of net, and then another one had the shot, overtime winner, moving on to day 5. That's what it was, except for the individual who was setting up the shot got down and saved that goal. And then eventually 100x35 able to take control, and then 522 they're able to score. Lost my freaking mind. I still have that clip and can think about the entire overtime. But yeah, again, just not only being able to get past Swiss, getting into day 4, but then going to day 5 in that way was absurd. I mean, and the thing was, in that moment, I had to hold 2 things in my hand. It was kind of like the superhero meme. One of the buttons was like heart-breaking defeat, and the other one was just mind-blowing, insanely happy. So at the same time, I'm just ready to press one of these buttons, and I'm like, man, we have had such issue. I'm gonna press this button. It's gonna be just terrible, tragic again. So when they scored, I just lost my freaking mind. That was amazing. That was I've always been emotionally invested in my rosters. I do everything I can to learn about them, to talk to the coaches, things like that, just so I can really kind of hit that that level of engagement, right? So I can kind of feel along with the players. So them being able to get that, yeah, I was just beyond beyond gone and elated with what happened there. But I mean, that's kind of that from the competitive standpoint, but there's a lot of those stories that come along. For Wholesome League, there's not really anything necessarily 100% like that. Like we have amazing games. I think the bigger thing is when we have folks that are higher rank come in to play, because again, then you have individuals who are gold, who are platinum, who are low rank, playing out there with Mech, who's been day 5 RLCS talent, and it might only be for a game, but they still get to say, I was out there playing alongside this dude, even if he's just out there messing around or whatever, or bubble pros or whatever. And that's really what it's about. I remember a friend group where some bubble pros, were, they kind of vibe, their friend group, they were going out and they said, oh man, we were gonna like going out in this competitive space or whatever play, but then we saw you were live, we just jumped into a bunch of random presets and went out there and vibed. And I remember at one point you had 5 of the 6 people that were out there, 5 were like 2K MMR, just freaking like amazingly good. And then you had this member of the community, which at the time was like a gold 3. Like, he's like, I don't know what I'm doing out here. I have no reason to be in this lobby. But yeah, I mean, he still talks about it to this day. And that's kind of what I'm talking about, is that story, But on top of that, I will say, like in professional wrestling, as time goes on, right, characters will have kind of that history, all over the place. Like, they might be here, they might be there, whatever. I have pretty good retention. So whenever I'll have a player, I will remember, maybe I'm casting them, I'll do research and be like, okay, the potential is here for this storyline, right? This person's here, they played this person, So I try to create those storylines ahead of time so that way I can hype it, right? So we're going into day number 2, the potential's there for all these different storylines. So that way when we're going along, I can just kind of keep that in the viewer's mind, like, this is the potential, this is the potential, this is the potential. So you've already got different scripts already out there ready to go. So that way you have people rooting for those particular scripts when maybe they had no idea who these people were, but they hear these are the stakes on the line, this is the story you could hear, and that brings something else beyond that too, right? So ultimately being able to do that, that's great. But in terms of like those moments, that's definitely one. And then the most recent roster, like I said, got to day 6. So really just kind of, it always feels like the next one, I guess is the way to put it. It's like, it feels like there's gonna be a next one. So I just really enjoy the here and the now, right? Because there's always a good story to tell, I think, and just kind of lose myself in the moment and on to the next one after that.
Yeah, actually, I want to quickly talk about just RLCS and the open qualifiers, because it's something that we don't see that often in Overwatch, because they have made this tier system with Face It League where it's basically like, easiest way to put it, minor league baseball. You have your AAA, AA, single A. A single A is wide open. That's the most open one there is, because it's like, hey, any team, you can just put a team together. All you have to do is just win a couple qualifying matches and you're in. Top of the one is like, hey, these are the best teams. There are players that could probably be playing in the pro scene. They just aren't on a team. Break down an open qualifier, because like I did an open qualifier with a team that I don't think is around anymore, called Boulevard, at the start of last year. And that by far was one of the funnest casting experiences I ever had, because it was, hey, they lost their first game and then they went on this run where it was like, hey, they won close, they kept on winning close series after close series. It was like, because I immediately thought after the first one was done, I was like, they got killed. I was like, oh dear God. I left work early. I thought this would be an hour. It might only be 15 minutes. 3 hours later, they're moving on to the second day. But like, the open qualifier scene in RLCS is absolutely insane, because much like you said, if you have 3 people, you could just go into it. It's insane sometimes.
Yeah, there will be 1,200 teams, right? 16, and typically Europe has more at any given time, just because that is the dominant region and has been, I think, for a bit. But you will literally have 1,000, 1,200 teams, and there will be people, platinums, just be like, let's do it for the content, let's see what happens. And I felt kind of bad from time to time, because I've had teams that go in there and just like, it's time to hit some clips, let's see what like Monkeyshines wants talking about, he needs some short form content, let's make this happen. But basically the way it works, it's a double elim on day number 1. And you'll have the better teams, like they'll go out there, they'll troll a little bit, but they'll be best of threes. And honestly, nobody likes best of threes. Like you don't have time to settle in, right? You just kind of like go out there, you do your thing. So once I get the best of fives, I'm gorgeous. But after you, so you got double elim, you kick things off, winners, losers, standard issue, right? If you're able to go to day number 2 through uppers, again, you just keep on keeping on through there. Obviously, if you lose, you go to lowers. You have that extra life. But then if you're able to get through that, you go to top 32 and where you play Swiss, which is honest to God, even like Championship Sunday and everything. Swiss is probably my favorite part of the whole thing because you'll have 2 pools of 16. And it really depends on like how many games you win here, how many scores here, and they try to line it up where I mean it's so fluid. The potential for storylines, like I said, with what I had where you're kind of like you're giving those storylines, it lives in Swiss. So it's just all over the place. It's amazing with what can come out of there in terms of stories. Beyond that, they've introduced GSL, which is kind of like a hybrid double elim that I'm honestly not that big of a fan of. But basically, you're whittling it down to the point where, just like any other playoff, you just keep going and going and going to a playoff scenario until you get down to the end. Now, what they do have is depending on where you finish, you get points, kind of like in NASCAR, right? You get to the end, you get the most points, you get the most prize money, so on and so forth. And then as time goes on, you're eventually playing in there's 2 majors, right? You keep generating points on and on towards Worlds, right? Which is basically your Super Bowl of Rocket League. There's so many spots for NA, so many spots for EU, for particular regions and things like that. So as you're going on, it's kind of one big arc, right? So while we may be at Open Qualifier 2 starting in January, we are still already looking towards Worlds, down the line. But on top of that, one thing that I really like is you now have like ones is being introduced. There's sickos out there like me that enjoy playing ones in Rocket League. They've now introduced twos, which is a very common mode for professionals. Like they don't typically, I mean, they'll go out there and they'll scrim in threes, but twos, when they'll go out there in queue, like that's kind of standard. So you might see some teams there. It's not the Open Qualifier necessarily. I mean, again, went off the rails from there. But in terms of Open Qualifiers, like it is in fact wide open. So in theory, like you could go out there with 2 other really good players and you could be in Swiss. You know what I mean? The same thing does go though for like ones, which again, those qualifiers happened for the first time this past season. I know an individual that is trying to, can go in, but he's genuinely trying to make a solid run and has the talent to do it. So you, right place, right time, right draw, you could end up with people like, who the heck is this? And that has happened plenty of time. And I think that just provides, again, an even better story. And that's kind of, I know I go back there, but I go back there for a reason. That's what helps people engage. Like, yeah, some people just want to watch super mechy individuals play and have that best in the world, conversation off of that. For me, it is that nuance that really makes it.
How about fours? I know fours was introduced. That's not going to become a thing, right?
You say that, and honest to God, people have really taken to it. It would not shock me at all if next season, I think, we genuinely saw fours. It's very common among higher ranked players, but I could see it. And I will say the way that they have it set up now, I really enjoy it because they have given people the opportunity, if you enjoy ones, twos, you have that opportunity. Monthly cash cups as well for multiple regions. I've loved it in that they continue to give current players a reason to keep playing beyond, the RLCS Open Qualifiers and that. And it provides an opportunity for new players to come in and get involved in that way and get emotionally invested and things like that. So I think the scene in and of itself, while people can certainly critique the game, and for good reason, the kind of the ecosystem just in terms of the player base, like it's there. I think Rocket League can be honestly so much more than it is as an esport. Genuinely. I think it can be just genuinely so much more. But as it is, I think the fan base itself is so resilient because in theory, with what's happened in terms of the game and Epic and all this kinds of stuff, a lot of people could say, how is this still functional in the way that it is? But the game is so resilient that as challenging and as difficult as it may be, it's so unique that people will still come back because they can't get that fixed somewhere else. And that ends up being a problem because then, the whole idea is if you lose money, that's when we make the changes. But if people are still paying and everything like that, well, you got Fortnite over here. Obviously, that's the golden goose. But if Rocket League is doing its own thing, being kind of self-sustaining, well, you guys can complain all you want. Technically, you're still giving us money. What does it matter? And now there's so much overlap where if you purchase something in Rocket League so many times, they'll head on over to Fortnite as well. You have that overlap.
Shout out,
so I really would
shout out
love-
Rocket Racing, I guess.
There you go. There you go. And I've known people who are like top 100 in Rocket Racing, by the way. I have no idea how, but I digress.
Didn't they stop doing Rocket Racing? Like, I
No,
thought that's still going on?
That's still
I heard
going
somewhere
on.
where they just said, hey, yeah, it didn't do what we thought it would, just stopped it.
Nope. Still going. Go play it right now. It's it's on there. But yeah, no, I just genuinely I don't know what would have to happen. I mean, obviously there's been rumor about bringing it under as a mode in Fortnite. Honest to goodness, if it operates in the same form and fashion, if that gives the game the opportunity to access better servers and things like that, show me what you can do. Because at this point, the game is getting done dirty in a variety of aspects. The game itself, like the actual game that is played. The fan base, stupid resilient, and I think it deserves a lot of praise for that. But there's a lot of frustration, understandably so. But I think the fact that you are able to find successful stuff like the open qualifiers, the cash cups, things like that, and then on top of it, you can go out on Twitch and you'll have people playing viewer tournaments, playing with viewers, et cetera, or something like Wholesome League. That is there. That should tell you that it is resilient and there is something to work with. It's a big challenge right now with what has been experienced with Epic and things like that. So again, tip of the cap, if I had one, towards the fan base. And now you've got DDoSers, bots, stuff like that. So there are legitimate tests to the sanity of the fan base, and yet it still endures. That's not to say Epic can just do nothing, because they've actually finally stepped up and done a thing, because we've got pros at the top of the totem pole saying, fix your game, which good on them. So, yeah, end of the day, with the open qualifiers, to wrap this word back around, open qualifiers give the opportunity for really anybody. You've got to be plat, but that's a pretty low bar to get to. But it does give everybody the technical opportunity. Fields wide open. You have 1,200 teams, and you get to the end, and there's one. But yeah, it's just so many different ways it could go. So many new folks that could be there. Luck of the draw and everything. Like I said, lucky pull and things like that. So yeah, it's just that huge element of kind of who's next, who's the next big star, who are the prodigies, and now as well, not the open qualifier. Well, no, actually, big part in it is we're starting to see a shift, because Rocket League players are growing up, that we're starting to see CRL, College Rocket League, start to take a step up in the individuals who are out there. They have their open qualifiers. So as you get the individuals, the pros and everything that shift on over, you see teams that are able to play through those. Now, yeah, that's specifically college, yes, but you'll kind of see them growing up, and you'll have esports opportunities at universities. And so many universities are able to put together, even if it's at club level, a Rocket League team, whereas you definitely don't have, American football money. You definitely don't have basketball money. So there's a lot more opportunities, again, that esports is able to provide. In that case, still an open qualifier. But again, so many people have their opportunities to go out there and perform, and that's what I love.
Yeah, no, I like a couple things. Love that you talked about Epic there, because from everything I've seen, and again, I try to keep up with RL and RL esports, but it always seems like there's this very much love-hate relationship with Epic when it comes to everyone in it, because of how much they have, like you said, like you kind of talked about, either not necessarily cared about the game at all, because DDoSers and just the hackers is something I see pretty constant, especially with some of my friends who are really into Rocket League, just say like, I'm just not playing the game until like they do something about it. And I think the biggest thing was, I think about halfway through this year, when they said like, hey, yeah, the team decals, those are kind of aren't going away, but they're not going to be like individual, like special designs. They're just going to basically be the same ones or something like that. I remember that was a big sticking point with a lot of people, and Epic just kind of saying like, with them saying like, Epic just doesn't necessarily care. But it's great to hear that from what you're saying, it sounds like Epic is finally starting to get the ball rolling, or at least put a little bit more effort into it.
A little bit.
And
it's oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, finish it, because I was going to jump to the college thing.
Yeah. So I will say they are a bit, but it's a challenge because it's almost like kind of an abusive relationship, because you do then have them stepping up and doing something good, but everybody's like, okay, now fix the thing, because they've just been burned by so much. So I want to see more communication. It's gotten a little bit better, but it really feels, until we see more continuous and more regular communication, everything, not getting a lot of great communication or any of this stuff. And I understand there's only so much that can be said, because when you go out there and they say, okay, well, we're adding DDoS protection. Well, what are you doing? We can't really tell you that because, so I understand the frustration amongst the fan base. It is valid. It is 100% valid, but it's good to see steps being taken. Not perfect, because let's be, again, very real. It doesn't need to be there in the eyes of a business, in the eyes of a company like that, because, well, it is what it is. Like, the bottom line is the bottom line to these folks, because of course it's a business, it's a company. I get it. But they, like, I will say, for the number of decals that they do have, they absolutely did a tremendous job with them. And now they're universal. It's not just for one car, right? You don't have to go buy multiple decals for multiple cars. You buy one, you're golden. You can use that with anything. Like, that was a great idea. So there are some things that have been done which are a positive. It's never going to be perfect. There's always going to be pros and cons, but I would say there have been more steps in the right direction, at least in terms of the competitive scene. But yeah, do need to find a way, however that might be, to take a bigger step towards bots and DDoSers and the like. And I realize, like, to a degree, there's only so much we can do, but it gets to be the point where you have to really focus on the individuals who have been there. And even though they've been resilient, you could, in theory, I mean, as a business, there's more money to be made with a more stable game, and it can be made. I have no doubt.
Yeah. And before I get to the college thing, like, the abusive relationship thing, like, I imagine Hunter and Megan and myself can at least talk about this with Overwatch, because it definitely has seemed like at a lot of points where they have really negated some stuff or just not cared about some stuff. And you can talk about with the esports side or just the player side itself, because there's still some game breaking bugs, or just at least some bugs in the game that we've been wanting fixed for a while. And there's just some other stuff as well where people aren't necessarily happy with it, but they're not going to change it. Where it's like, we're not happy with it, but we gotta kind of accept it and just kind of have fun with it. Like, I imagine Hunter and Megan can talk on it a little bit as well. Like, there is stuff like that out there with almost every game. Like, Hunter.
Yeah, no, our sort of things, the replay bug is very much still a thing. Especially when we're trying to do things for the Face It thing. The way this bug will operate is whoever you hone in on first on, like, a first-person cam, it'll then take audio from them for the entire duration of that map. So no matter who you swap to, no matter what perspective, that player's audio will still be playing. So while you're watching someone playing Reinhardt and listening to them, you will hear a Sojourn shooting clear as day as if they are the one you are watching. And I hit it, I'm like, well, nothing I can do about it. There's nothing you can do in that situation, and I just have to accept that fate. It's I don't want to say it's minuscule in terms of some of the other big issues we've had, but when we're doing our production and I'm sitting there like, listen, I'm not a professional. I don't have a team with me. There's nothing I can do about the situation. Have fun, y'all. Have fun on the replay.
Yeah, I mean, there's always issues. Like, there's this weird bug every time I play the game where people are allowed to pick the Vendetta character for some reason. Not a fan of that. Hopefully they fix that soon. But then, like my bar is so on the floor these days. Like, I look at a situation like what's happened with Rainbow Six Siege recently. I don't know if y'all have seen that, where it's just like, it could be worse. It could be so much worse. The context being, if you did not know, Rainbow Six Siege literally, I think it's still technically offline. Like, the entire game has been taken offline because hackers straight up were somehow handing every single player 2 billion of the in-game currency. And then on top of that, we're basically they were tired of other cheaters who weren't being punished. So despite them literally hacking to do this, they were banning the cheaters themselves. So like it could be worse. That's sort of the mindset.
Yeah, the one thing I love about that with Siege is Siege has a global system. So when someone gets banned, it says it in every game. So since it was a constant like stream of people being banned, it would be like, here's 20 people being banned. Oh, hey, look, this person killed this person. 20 more people being banned. Like,
it got to a point where they started just using it to spam out song lyrics. That was interesting. Because they would just like basically ban accounts of like the words they needed.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
In the worst of ways, that's amazing. That is another thing too, with Rocket League is the lack of, I would say, good moderation. Just what you can say and be okay with, and they don't get banned or anything like that. That's obviously concerning. We've also seen bans for reasons where seriously, like, we've had to have people come out and be like, what's the point here, Epic? And then try to get their account back and things like that. So between the DDoSers, the bots and everything, there are legitimate gripes. And there's certainly like, okay, a bug here and there. Yeah, games are games. They're going to have bugs. Cool. All right. But when you have things that are legitimately attacking just the very foundation of enjoyment for even pros, to where they have to speak up because you're clearly not paying attention, that's an issue. There's certainly a difference between, okay, the map's having, a glitch or this, that, or the other, and you are genuinely harming the experience for so many people at any given times because somebody wants to be exceptionally lazy and make money in this form and fashion.
Yeah, it's a problem. Okay. So I'm going to skip the college thing because I want to kind of move on to another topic here. I want to talk about you working with 100x35 here, because we've had people on in the past who have worked as like partnership with orgs. We had one person who's done multiple and is now again working with another org as their premier content creator. And I know Hunter has been reached out to by I at least know one org that has reached out to him that asked him to kind of cover some of their games. I've worked with some orgs here and there, but it was through like just some producer friends like said, hey, can you come in and cast this and that. But it sounds like, especially with how long you've been working with 100x35, that it's a little bit more than just like a content creator or something like that. So how is it like, and what is it like working with 100x35?
I mean, so I've been with them now for 2 years. I got brought on in December of 2023. I started casting / streaming in June of that year. And Thrifty Too Sweet, owner of 100x35, I didn't know what the heck he saw, honestly. Like, he reaches out to me in December. He's like, hey, you want to come on and do this thing? And I'm like, all right, huh? So there was, he obviously saw something, which I appreciate to this day. But really, like, how it is, I mean, it's cool because I think I have, that input. I kind of do like my own thing, obviously, but I think the great thing about it is it has afforded me the opportunity to grow in and of itself. Thrifty's been able to get me involved with other regions as well. And it's been a lot of growth opportunities because not only was it with 100x35, but there's been the encouragement to grow, because Thrifty's an individual that understands from this perspective. Even if I were to go off and join a huge organization, he could say, yeah, he came through here, that's our boy, and take pride in that. And I think there are groups that don't do a good job of that. They look at that as, oh, they're big timing us, or they're too good for us anymore, and that's not at all what it is. Not a one-to-one comparison, but like when I went in communities like the places I started, I was always concerned because like there was no idea of, oh, I'm too good for this place or anything like that. But it was kind of, I was trying to think of the way to figure this out, and I talked to a colleague of mine a long time ago, and it was just kind of like you outgrew it for what you're trying to do. And again, that's no shade on anybody, but with your goals, it's beyond that, but with Thrifty, he has provided me the opportunity to go other places and do other things, But at the end of the day, I still come back home, and 100x35 is my house. That's where I live. So then when I go out there and I do 100x events, qualifiers, all that kind of stuff, yeah, 100%. Like I'm repping when I go on and play Rocket League on, my streams, I'm wearing the 100x decal, things like that. So it's been really chill, honestly. It's a younger organization. I think they've been around for like 3 years. I'd have to double check. I've been there for 2. So still really young, and it's been so much about networking as well. So it's been growth, and not just for myself, but other people who have played there, and networking and everything like that. So it's more than just that organization. It's networking and growing within that community, within like the Rocket League community and things like that. Meeting producers and all this kind of other stuff. So I think like that's been big for me personally. Not just having the opportunity to cast better and better players, and things of that sort, but also to meet other people and to work with new colleagues and producers and all this kind of stuff, and build those relationships throughout the community. So it's been big in terms of talent and in terms of opportunity.
And I'll say this, like I feel like even though it's young, an org making it 3 years in esports is actually just a great success, because you've seen a lot of orgs come in, have 1 or 2 really good years, and then the next year, like, where do they go? They're gone. It's like, so it's awesome to see an org kind of stick around for, not even say it's just stick around, like still be there in year 3. But like, I think you bring up a really good point there at the end with having it be a networking thing as well, because I mean, I imagine we all do a ton of different stuff, ton of different leagues, as much as we possibly can, so we can have those other connections. Like what you have with Wholesome League is probably an incredible thing with finding people who not only want to play, but people who are looking for necessarily people to potentially broadcast stuff as well. I imagine that has helped you out. And like, there's the 2 LAN events I've gone to. It's like, I'm there for these events, but at the same time, it's like, I understand I need to talk to these people a little bit, just so like, put a name to a face, network a little bit. You never know what will necessarily happen. And it's a weird thing to think about that, where like when you first get in, I feel like, especially as a caster, you like say, I just want to cast as much as I possibly can, have some fun with it. If you want to take that next step though, it's like, oh, I have to start actually networking and talking to other people outside just the couple of people that might be in this one league. It's a really interesting thing to really figure out along the way.
Yeah, it definitely is. And to be, I think, as well, open to opportunities, right? Like, they're not all gonna work out. You're not necessarily gonna vibe with everybody. That's okay. You're not gonna like everybody you encounter with as a human being. But it's also been good, as I'm a person that I'm not like trying to gatekeep the space. Whenever somebody who like just starts reaches out to me and they want some thoughts or advice, or my, just my thoughts or whatever, because what the hell do I know? I am all about, I'm totally cool with sitting down and talking shop and saying, well, this is what I did and this is what I found, and however, you want to do it, that's your business. But I have had people come and they want to talk. I'm totally cool with sitting down and be like, help me help you. I want you to enjoy it as well. I want you to find out if this is a space that you want to be a part of. And it's one of those things where I'm just of the subscription that of the mindset where rising tide lifts all ships. So I think in a space like this where we can continue to lift each other up and provide opportunities, like, I mean, I can be over here seeing opportunity, and I'm like, oh man, Dex would love that. Maybe it's not for me, but Dex would be perfect for that. And then I go and I tell you about it, and bang, there you go. And then vice versa, and it goes all over the place. And that's an element that exists, I think, in media, period. Whatever media it might be. There's only so many spots. People want to have access for the few spots because they want to make money and pay bills. Totally understandable. But it's just one of those things where, personally, like, I'm totally cool with it, because I think at the end of the day, we all walk away better for it. But just, yeah. And whatever that might be, engaging at LAN events, or, through Discord or whatever, or through organizations or whatever, I would say just being open to collaboration in general is great, because those opportunities are going to come along. And the more you were able to, I think, do that, or maybe take some risks, even if maybe you didn't love that particular one, word gets out about people who are professional, who are easy to work with, who do show up on time and are respectful and things like that. And in spaces like esports, like it's big, but there's still a niche portion of it. Like Rocket League, it's there's a bunch of people, but the way I genuinely go about it is that everybody knows everybody else, because way too many times will I go out there and be playing somebody or casting somebody like, oh, this dude. I'm like, yeah, I just talked to them, the other day. So it's like, that's one thing to keep in mind as well. Is like with a space like that, word spreads like wildfire too. So it's not just networking; it's knowing that you could be talking to somebody. You know what I mean? Which is another thing. Like being able to have a project like Wholesome League, which has been a passion project. When things have been rough, it's something that I can focus on. And really, it seems like folks who are able to find a project like that have a little bit more opportunities for success. I've talked to people like, man, I wish I had, something going on, this, that, the other. And, I've had this as a pet project, but the benefit is I remember going out and streaming. And I think like anybody who goes out there, a lot of people like, oh man, I want these big numbers and all that kind of stuff and all these. I can go out there and the mindset that I have developed over the past few months, it's honestly one of the best things I ever did with regards to streaming. It's kind of like, why are you going out there, right?
Mm.
Are you a content creator? Are you a streamer? Is that why you were streaming? Not necessarily the why, but is that your kind of your role, right? Like that's what you're doing. You're streaming, you're a content creator that way. For me, it was shifting that into the thought and really the knowledge and the understanding. I am not a streamer. I am a caster who streams, right? So being able to step out and do that, it really, really helps, because you might look at your numbers and they might not be, 100 people average, or you're not getting squishy muffin numbers. But if you're getting like an average of 25 people, the right pair of eyeballs can open opportunities that you might not have normally had. So if you're out there having fun with your project, whoever that might be, the right person comes through and they see something they like, there you go. So yeah.
No, and like I especially with what you said there at the end, like me and Hunter stream these Face It League games on his channel. Hey, don't do that. He normally averages about 20 to 25 people watching that per stream.
Mm-hmm.
And like that is honestly, I think that alone got us maybe a huge opportunity earlier this year. But like I think just going back to it, like I remember someone saying if you average over like 10 viewers on Twitch, you're like in the top 95 percentile of streams, which is absolutely insane. And when you think about it like that, but like it's insane just to like I feel like anytime I stream, it's like, oh hey, I have one person or two people watching. Like, wow, 2 people are watching me be terrible at this game. It's insane because you never, like you said, you never necessarily know who's watching it. And like I could probably ask Hunter, and I could probably ask Megalass the same thing, not necessarily with her own streams, but like back to the networking thing a little bit, where doing these random things might have been able to get them something down the line, got them a good connection, because it's like, and we talk about a lot with this, a lot about this. The people that we work with are some of the best people in the world. The producers, the observers, everything are some of the best people in the world. And for Rocket League, the lobby admins, the producers there, some of the best people in the world, nicest people in the world. You never necessarily know, like you said, being professional, where that will get you. Because I think that's the only reason I ended up doing that thing with Boulevard was, I forget who it was, but he reached out to me and said, like, I know you won't necessarily do something that will get us in trouble. And I imagine Hunter and Mega can have statements like that as well, where people put their trust into them to bring them in and work on these projects.
I was gonna let you go first, Mega, but I can go first.
I was waiting for you to go.
Okay, I guess it's kind of been the rotation. That's fine.
Flip a coin. We'll figure it out.
The Canadian revolving door.
Now, I had a couple fun opportunities this year where people reached out and I was able to be a part of some really cool things. early on, Extinction had their Ice Age Invitational, which I was very happy to work with Extinction, and now I have definitive favoritism whenever I see one of their games. Dex knows this. We're looking at games for the week. I'm like, hey, Extinction's got a game coming up. But the times I've done Marvel Rivals, oh god, I don't remember. Oh god, Kate, who does charity events all the time. In fact, I think he's doing a charity event for Valorant coming up next month. I was able to be part of one of her charity tournaments for Marvel Rivals. That was a ton of fun because that was my first time doing a charity event in quite a long while. Which I would love to do more of those, obviously. So call me. But it's always a joy to have people reach out to you because it's one thing to join in on any like smaller league because you get to meet a lot of really cool people that way. I've been doing that because we had a Reserve Wolf on some while back, and I've been enjoying doing stuff for them when it comes to QRLS. But to have someone reach out to you is a whole different feeling. It's like, hey, this person physically wants me involved in this, and with that being the case, you are just dedicated at that point. 110% of my efforts going towards this because that person decides, hey, you're one of the people I want for this, and it's a special feeling. We'll call it.
Yeah, not to take away from Mega here, but like the first time someone personally reached out to me to be on something is like a month ahead. I was like, what? You want me? Yeah, sure, I'm there. Fuck. I will clear my entire calendar. I have to work. Not gonna be there. I have this. Like it's. I think it's just a special feeling as a caster. Like when someone reaches out to you, it's like, hey, can you do this? Like, I feel like because it was a really special feeling. What the fuck, Hunter?
That's you.
Okay, Mega, you can go ahead now.
No, what do you mean? Don't focus on that beat. No, I mean, like you said, like it is like a special fit because all at the end of the day, like not to get like super, what's that called? Freaking philosophical, but like at the end of the day, all anybody ever wants is to be wanted, and like the fact that an event comes up from a caster perspective, and like you're the person who came to mind, it's not only like oh hey, I get to go do this cool event. It's I've honed my craft. I've done, I've like actually put time into my skill, and people are acknowledging that and taking me places because of it. Like that in and of itself is amazing. But on to actually touch back to the content creator side of things as well, because this happened to me incredibly recently. I had this mutual friend who just, purely connections. We just hadn't talked in a while because they were all about numbers. They realized, oh, hey, being all about numbers kind of sucks. But, in sort of reconnecting with them, sort of just on a human to human level, but then getting to do networking, they handed me what they called the keys to the kingdom, which is basically just like this massive document of just like great ways to grow socials and stuff like that, like sort of all the nitty gritty of algorithm stuff. And it's like kind of crazy because it's just not something you ever expect. But again, just having those connections, having another pair of eyes that knows you, that can just send you information like that on a whim, it's amazing. It can absolutely help you with sort of anything you're doing.
It really is. It's like I want to talk to you about this after this because I would like to know a little bit more about the algorithms and stuff. And I know you've talked to me about it in the past about.
Well, yeah, I got you.
Yeah. But here, let's kind of move on now. So you touched on it a little bit earlier, and you've brought up a couple times here. You worked in traditional sports before, and you came into esports here. What, like, we've had people on in the past, at least one person who has worked and is working in traditional sports right now on the prod side. It sounded like you did a little bit of everything, whether it be the prod side, you did podcasts, you wrote for it. Like, what do you necessarily think is kind of missing from esports in that kind of sense, that traditional sports that you did with traditional sports?
Yeah. I mean, honest to goodness, I enjoy I enjoy esports so much more than traditional. Like genuinely, when I made the shift, especially casting and everything like that, I was already kind of falling out of love with it just because the shift from a lot of companies was okay, buy up the company, fire editors, fire writers will bring in people who just want to have the name on their resume, so on and so forth. Switching over to video, things like that, and that was really a challenge. So honest to goodness, it's not necessarily what esports doesn't have. I think it's more of what it does have. Like it's a really good question as far as what traditional I mean, I think it offers kind of a roadmap in a way. I think you can show folks like what experience that maybe folks would enjoy a little bit more in terms of maybe production or maybe trying to find your rhythm in terms of whatever your casting style might be, how to refine that, things of that sort. I think there are elements certainly that you can take away from traditional sports and broadcasters and things like that. Not a one to one, but certainly elements that you enjoy. I think there's a lot just in general that esports can bring over there because honestly, I think I think there's a lot of things that are very very similar. A lot of things that traditional sports has that esports doesn't, and vice versa. So it's really kind of hard to bridge that gap, short of taking pieces. I think certainly maybe taking a little bit more in term of risk. I understand though to a degree why that isn't necessarily done. But Rocket League, it of course has spots that it returns to a fair bit just because they know it works. Why would you not, do that? But I think there are other opportunities, other places that they could go for majors and events like that I think would do well. And I understand like that would be a huge risk to take one of your few major events and be like, let's roll the dice on this. But I think that's how, even if it does not go as you would like it to do, or like as you would like it to go in that particular instance, you're still going to get your footprint somewhere else. And I feel having that opportunity to branch out a little bit more, because in we're talking about for US, right? Texas, very common out there, Dickies Arena, or you're talking on the East Coast, and you got to be aware, right? Because it's got to be an international airport, things like that. But I think like the Midwest has not been utilized, whether that's Chicago, Kansas City, stuff like that. And people might think, well, what's there to do in Kansas City? There are things to do there, and on top of that, it's I say dirt cheap in comparison to like San Diego. It's very affordable. So I mean, if you're able to go there and do a bunch of different stuff versus like one other thing, I think there's the opportunity there. Chicago, people can have their critiques about the city, of course, but I think there's a lot of opportunity there, centrally located. Person like myself is in the Midwest. I do not have the resources to go to Texas, San Diego, etc. But I can still drive to Chicago and make that happen. So there's opportunities there that I think fans want to have, like will actively go towards, just not making that leap. But again, that happens in traditional sports. Like you're not just going to open a franchise anywhere. That makes total sense. But I think maybe opting for a little bit more in terms of risk would be good. Trying to find a way to step outside the comfort box in terms of where you operate. Because yeah, it might not go the way you would like. I understand there's only a few opportunities that you have, but again, just trying to grow the base beyond what you have now. But I'm the one who doesn't have to worry about financial decisions with regards to that. So at the end of the day, wrapping back around, I don't know that there's a ton that you can, or that you even necessarily want to bring over. I think they're their own spaces, and I think having that autonomy and that respect for those spaces is important in and of itself.
Yeah, absolutely. It really is. And I mean, I think you're right with like esports need to take maybe a little bit more of a risk. But again, it's completely understandable why they don't.
Yeah, 100%.
Especially in the time right now where
Yeah.
if you
Oh,
make
absolutely.
if you make money in sports, holy shit, how?
Yeah, yeah, congratulations. Genuinely. You know what I wouldn't mind seeing though? I'll say this, and coming from a journalism background, I wouldn't mind seeing more folks even taking a shot at whether it's blogs or Patreon or whatever the heck, and kind of getting involved in that, and maybe writing articles and things of that sort. And again, it would be something unique, obviously, because esports athletes versus traditional sports athletes, it is different, of course, age difference, all that kind of thing. Where I broke in was college football recruiting, and that's probably about the closest you're going to get. You're talking about kids that are, like, for example, the US, they are in high school, right? They are 15, 16, 17, and even that shift into 15, like, that's considered young if you're talking about like college football and stuff. Now you've got kids that are 13, having this opportunity, which that's a whole other thing that I disagree with, but that's neither here nor there at the time. So yeah, it's kind of apples to oranges in some cases, but I think if you were able to bring in like that, there are folks who do a great job, like Shift. I mean, there's tons of people getting information there, but just like journalism, you have to build those sources up, right, along with networking. But I think there's some unique opportunities if there are folks who would endeavor to want to do that, and it's certainly something I would encourage. Right, it's a creative outlet. Casting is as well, stuff like that, and it's a thing. I'm sure we got a ton of great writers out there that would like to have an opportunity to do that kind of stuff. So I would strongly encourage folks, like, if you want to go out there and do that and give it a shot, give it a shot. Worst case scenario, you tried, it didn't go the way. Fine, fair enough. You're right back here. That's okay. Take a risk.
And like, honestly, that's what I was gonna kind of say. Like, I feel like the one thing esports kind of missing is like at least it doesn't have to be every game, or at least every team, every region, but it feels like in like, let's say the NFL, the NBA, NHL, all the major leagues here in North America, there's one or two journalists you can go to and say like, hey, they are very well respected. Normally what they talk about is true. I feel like that's hard to find in esports. And yeah, I'm not saying that they're not there. I imagine esports like
they are.
Like CS, like the big ones. They have like really well respected journalists who cover the teams, cover the events, cover everything like that. But there needs to just be a couple more, like you said, whether it be behind a Patreon or something like that, where they can get properly, paid for doing their work. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more of that, because then it starts in my mind. It's like, hey, if you have people who are writing this and starting to make a little bit of money off it, then it's kind of legitimate.
Yeah.
I am forgetting the word.
Legitimizing.
Yeah, legitimizing maybe the esport.
There we go.
A little bit more. I don't know why I couldn't say that. Legitimizing the esport a little bit more, and because it makes it like, say, hey, people are really focusing in on this. People want to read up about everything possible, and like there are. I imagine there are several accounts out there that are doing it for free. Like in Overwatch, I think. Probably the best one would be Overwatch Cavalry, with their Cavalry Esports account, where they do, cover it. They do actually interview players from time to time. Rocket League, I imagine you could probably name a couple ones right off the bat. I imagine Valorant, CS, everyone has a couple people that they do it for the love of it.
Yeah, and I think even just as fans want to get into adrenaline, like, you don't even necessarily have to do the whole thing. Like, I mean, there are tons of sites or whatever that, like, okay, NFL, you're a Kansas City Chiefs fan. You write specifically about what's happening there. No doubt there's Space Station gaming Rocket League fan that would like to just focus on Space Station gaming, or Carmine Corp, or Vitality, or whatever. By all means, like, go out there and do the thing, because then people will look and think, oh, for example, like Dex, oh yeah, all about Vitality. Rocket League has all this kind of stuff, goes over everything. I totally got to go for him for that. Like, I encourage the heck out of that. You don't necessarily have to do the whole scope. If for whatever reason you like this org, that, this group, whatever, by all means, jump on it, and then you can expand if you want. If you want to do NA, great. If you want to do EU, awesome. If you want to give like SSA or OCE or whatever some love, by all means. I think people sometimes, when they look at it, they think from a global scale, and I think that it's very intimidating. You don't even have to think regionally. Think the favorite team that you have. Think the favorite players that you have in general. Like, you don't even have to. You can look from the player's perspective. Okay, you follow where they're going, the roster mania, stuff like that. There's a lot of stuff that you can just specifically focus on that niche, and people will go to you for that thing. You can be the roster mania person. Like, people look to you for that. So yeah, just find that niche, find your niche, and run with it.
WrestleMania is so funny. It really is. I think the funniest thing that happened with WrestleMania last year before OWCS started was it was very heavily rumored that Cloud9 was going to be, or C9 was going to be a part of it. WrestleMania took away their entire team. They just fucking left. A wild thing to that I think is a true thing, but if it's not true, then hey, it's still wild to think that happened. But let me ask Hunter and Mega about this. Like, and again, Hunter, you might know a little bit more about it. Mega, I don't necessarily like. I know you follow, or at least have it. You follow some traditional sports, not necessarily far, but you know enough about them. What do you guys think? Like, going back to this question, like, what is the one thing that you think esports could take away from traditional sports? Is like not necessarily a need, but could try to implement or just say like, hey, this is a good idea.
Ooh. Mm.
It's a thinker.
It's
Genuinely,
a thinker.
Yeah.
It's a thinker.
Like, I think an easy one is, and we've talked about it in the past when we've had other casters on and other producers on, having the players at least be media trained a little bit.
God, yeah,
Please.
my God.
That is fair. That is fair.
Because like you see it in college, like Monkeyshine, you would probably understand it a little bit here. If there's a player good enough to be recruited in college, normally by the time they're a senior in high school, they've already had a little bit of media training, so they don't shoot themselves in the foot by saying something stupid and then maybe losing scholarship.
Yeah, and that goes for Twitter, engagement, like whatever that might be. There've been people that went out there and said a thing, and I'm like,
buddy,
huh? And
listen.
yeah, I think that's a very valid point.
Yeah, there are players that are literally like somehow more successful than they were as players because they built an identity and a brand around themselves while being professional players. Man, this really is a thinker because I'm trying to think of like I'm trying to think of like the perfect thing, but there's no the perfect thing. Because the one thing that comes to mind is something we used to have, we don't have it anymore. But like with a lot of traditional sports, especially like the NFL, we have things like the Pro Bowl, where different regions have like star players that do that. We used to have that with the Overwatch League way back when we had everybody in one central area, and it's kind of weird to be able to do that when we are spread across the entire world because we tried doing something where we took some of the best players or the best like tier 2 teams in the world and putting them against each other, and that didn't work out very well. So I wish it could work. It just logistically sounds like an absolute nightmare to deal with. I just don't know how you would go about that physically nowadays. There's got to be a better answer.
Well, Rocket League just got done with the FIFA E World Cup, and that was really cool. Bringing in folks from particular countries to represent, and some of it was obvious, but I think that was great. Like not a 1-to-1 for what you're saying, but kind of in that general vicinity. Like all-star teams, I think would be fun. The struggle though is like the ego and getting along with personalities, right? Because that's how teams split, is not having the proper personalities. I mean, Vitality's Rocket League roster, like individually, like great talents on people, like, oh, they're gonna win so much, and then no. And I knew this was gonna happen from the moment. I'm just like, the egos are too much. It's not a knock on the players themselves, but the dynamic is just not there. The fluidity, right? It's just not there. That give and take and willing to take maybe a secondary role for a little bit or whatever. I think that would be the challenge, but you know what? That's not me saying don't do it. That's me saying, by all means, take the risk. It doesn't work. It doesn't work. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like we're bringing back the World Cup for Overwatch this coming year, which everyone's very excited about. Like the moment it came out, everyone's like LFT looking for like they're still putting together all like not just the members, but like just the staff to be a part of it. And everyone's really excited for that. It's the same thing when we had it come back in what was it, 2023, and everybody popped off for that. Even people who hadn't played since Overwatch 1 came back. It's like, oh, I gotta watch the World Cup. You have to. It's one of the biggest events. You can watch Overwatch essentially on 24/7. I love that. I can wake up for work at 5 a.m. and you have freaking like Pacific region playing their games. I get home, I get to watch EMEA, and then later on North America and South America. It's incredible, and I'm looking forward to that a lot. Awkward silence.
No, I was gonna say, Mega, do you have anything?
I'm just vibing.
Oh, I mean, I'm gonna be so real. I don't because I don't like real sports. I'm gonna be so real. They're all over my Twitter timeline now purely off of looking up the scores one time, and I absolutely hate it. It like I don't know. The only thing I can think of that I actually like know somewhat about is like NIL deals and stuff like that for people to make their own money and stuff like that. And obviously, you can't just say bring that to esports because that's not how it works. There has to be investment for these companies to actually be willing to put money in these players' pockets and stuff like that. But just finding a way to help the players market themselves, like whether that's media training for them, or just like helping them get their name out there. Like, perfect example, League of Legends, freaking Faker. Like you say that name to anybody who's ever gamed in the past 15 years, they're like, oh yeah, Faker, like that's the guy. But like outside of gaming, I promise you, nobody knows who that dude is, even though he's like the best thing that's ever happened to an esport ever.
Also,
so just like trying to help make some sort of recognition for people like that. That way they can actually build these brands and build these identities.
And I will say the Kansas City Chiefs did something like that where they did have, I forget 100% who it was, but they had a couple really good Rocket League players like get that publicity. Having that from the Kansas City Chiefs, like that's huge. But yeah, I like what you're saying in that I am. It was the same with traditional sports, the same with esports. I'm very pro player, and just like I said, I think players should have their own opportunities. I don't feel that they should have to like go out and stream and be on that necessarily a content creator grind to find a sustainable, income or only have those opportunities because you go out there, you're on TikTok and all this kind of stuff. Because of course you do have players that are stupid good at it. But I think there should be other opportunities as well. So whatever those opportunities might be, maybe NIL, whatever you want to call it, the opportunities for those players to be able to market themselves as a brand, which I feel helps organizations because then that brand is part of what you've got going on, and it translates over in that because people could be like, oh, I identify with this particular logo, this particular person, then that's a part of SSG or whatever. And I think there's a lot of potential there. Obviously have to be developed or whatever, but yeah, at the end of it all, just being able to provide the players with an opportunity for them to grow beyond. Because again, I mean, just like the caster thing, Rising Tides, I think that works as well for players and organizations.
Yeah, and I think the thing that the Chiefs did, it was KC Pioneers, right? It was with Pioneers.
Yes. Yeah.
And like, I'll give Kansas City, it was strangely a lot of credit, because when NASCAR went there, they had a Rocket League tournament with the collegiate teams. Where it was, they had their own tent. It was a big thing where it's like, hey, we're having a Kansas Speedway Invitational of collegiate teams. And I thought that was the most insane thing. And like the people at my old school are like, because we're right by Bristol Motor Speedway, like, hey, Bristol, please do something like this. There's all these good teams in the area. And they didn't do anything like that. Like, it seems like at least that area is really more open to do that. And like, I knew they did it last year. I knew they did it again this year with more because I think the Pioneers brought out their Rocket League team. I think they brought out their Siege team as well. I think they have one or an Apex team. They brought out some other team, and it was like a big thing where they were meeting with all the players, play against them in 1v1s or something like that. Just have some fun with them. Mm-hmm. Like that is, I think that helps as well. Like you're already there for a football game. You get some more eyes on stuff like that. That's a huge thing.
Genuinely, I think I think the Midwest is perfect for that because again, out of everything going on, of course, economies and everything being what they are, it's lower cost of living. You have a little bit more opportunity to do more. Your dollar goes a little bit farther, right? So I think those risks can be taken in the Midwest. And I think you may be able to grow something that goes region wide and then ideally worldwide with some stuff here. And I think the Midwest affords esports in general that opportunity. And I would really like to see whether it's Overwatch, Val, Rocket League, whatever, really grab a hold of that. I think it's fertile ground to grow, and then it would be a natural, shunt over to Chicago, for example. Okay, well, naturally, you've got everybody here ready to go. There's your money right down the street, you know. And then again, that builds from there. And yeah, I think that's an opportunity there. Is the Midwest be able to Casey, what they did to be able to get them involved with, again, the Chiefs, not doing that great this season, but still you've got Patrick Mahomes, you've got some big names there, and then that could also go to St. Louis, Denver, et cetera, Chicago, Minnesota. There's a lot of opportunities with like NFL franchises, MLB, traditional sports, professional traditional sports that already have a ton of eyeballs, NFL, of course. That I think there's a crossover potential there, and I would like to think that organizations might take a flyer on it, see what happens.
Yeah, and I mean, you've definitely seen some owners buy in to some esport orgs. I mean, I know with us and Overwatch, the owner of the Patriots, I want to say his last name is Kraft. He bought
Robert Kraft.
Yeah, he bought an Overwatch League org. I think instantly regretted it because I think he paid $50 million and never saw a dime back. I think it's Jerry Jones owns a part of Complexity.
Yeah, you're correct.
Does he really? I did not know that.
I think he built a facility for Complexity at the Star, which is their practice facility. And then you just have all these other athletes. Like I know Shaq, Magic Johnson are at least investors. Shaq Energy.
Yes. Shaq's
Energy. I think he is. It makes sense.
I could see that.
Yeah. Because I remember NRG had a deal with the General, and I remember him wearing an NRG jersey with the General on it. But like you have these athletes who are getting into it. It would be cool if they really started to show a little bit more. Also, I think Shaq, like when NRG won a major championship, I think like he talked about them like on like NBA Today or whatever, or the NBA pregame show that he's on. But kind of moving away from that now. Hunter, Mega, do you have any questions that you guys would like to ask Monkeyshines?
Yes, I certainly do have a question. I will say really quick, I'm happy my voice has been retained throughout the entirety of this podcast. I was
gonna say, I hear the nasal work. Yeah, seriously, just absolutely a trooper over here.
I had to get through it, but Monkeyshines. I like asking this question a lot because no matter how long or how short we've been around the gaming sphere, we enter this lovely sphere and we have some kind of username or gamer tag, whichever you want to call it.
I knew this was going to come up. Yep. Okay.
Yep. Sometimes we stick with it. Sometimes it changes around. Mine's changed a couple of times. I'm happy where it's at now. But that, of course, as you imagine, leads me to this question. Why did you decide on Monkeyshines as your username?
Okay. This is what I knew we were going to get around this because eventually everybody asked the question. So I assure you, let's just take this moment in time right now. Okay. I want you all three of you, anybody watching, anybody listening who doesn't know the answer to this question, I want you to take the idea that you have about how I got to this. Okay. I want you to have that in your head. All right. I want you to think of it right now. Whatever you're thinking of, legitimately, whatever you're thinking of is more exciting than the actual reason, okay? So I want you to hold on to that and keep that as canon. What actually happened was...
Sorry, I was going to say, I remember you also had... Didn't you have another thing at the Star your name that you dropped earlier this year?
Yes, and we will... Yeah, we're at... You don't spoil it. Yes, I think you do know the answer to this question.
I don't know the answer. I remember the other part of your name.
Don't do the thing. Yes, don't do the thing. Okay. I appreciate it. Yeah, we got it spoiler free. So a while back when I was in traditional media, like I tried to build out kind of a brand. It was what it was. It wasn't like stupid successful or whatever, anything like that. But it got to the point where I was like, I kind of want to have like more of a gamer tag, right? Getting involved in esports and stuff like that. So I was like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to come up with? And eventually I just got to the point where I'm like, okay, you're overthinking this. I'm going to take the first two words that come into my head, and that is what it's going to be. And take away from this, whatever you will. It was Corporal Monkeyshines. Take away from that whatever you want. So I ran with that for a while. I was Corporal Monkeyshines for a while. But it got to be the point where I felt I was taking kind of the next step. And I was never trying to do stolen stolen valor. I wasn't trying to get 20% off at various locations of fast food restaurants or anything like that. But still, because I always thought, like, I asked people, I'm like, is it because multiple people that I've talked to or casted with were in the service, of varying countries, and people were always chill about it. But for a couple, I could kind of tell it just a little bit. So it was a thing when, and this was rather recent, all things considered. It's only been, it's been a few months now. But there was a point in my life where I had thought about removing the corporal from it and just going with Monkeyshines, because corporal Monkeyshine, like that's long in terms of like all the syllables and things like that. So I'm like, okay, if I was able to shift over to that, be a little bit easier to say, easier to remember, and I think memorable for that member, or for that matter. So it got to be a point where I was just kind of like, I think now is the time to do it, and it was kind of a turning of the page for me. Just new chapter. So that's how I got here, and I felt, honestly, at the end of the day, it makes way too much sense to have this as a gamer tag. So that's how I got here. It wasn't actually Monkeyshines, and it just got here because that's how my head works, basically. Just complete random first two words in my head at one point.
That's actually be one of the better stories we've had for someone's name.
I gotta be honest, it's the same way where when I think Xbox still does that, when they put together your gamer tag, if it's random, they literally just throw two random words together and call it a day.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Simple as
basically what it was.
Darts at a dartboard, just.
Yep. I was just like, brain, give me what you got. Let's see what we got. And then after that, by the way, like immediately after, my son, he didn't really have anything that he liked. So I was like, do you want me to do it for you too? He's like, yeah. Came up with laser sauce. So now
there we go.
I think it just goes by laser anymore, but yeah.
I like that. That's wonderful.
I mean, laser sauce is nice.
Right, it is. Like, again, you're not gonna. Do we have anybody else out there going by laser? I don't think we do. But yeah, no, it's just again, it was the thing I liked about it as well. Is it's just, it was uniquely me. It was something that was, even if it was quote unquote random, it was part of my lexicon. So yeah.
I mean, hey, he has two names he can shorten to: laser or sauce. Either one.
Exactly. Yeah, he's going with laser for the time being, at the very least.
I was gonna say, would I go with laser or would I go with sauce? Because I feel like laser gets used maybe a little bit more than sauce.
I mean, I think of hot sauce.
Yeah. Hey.
And yes,
someone we've had on the podcast before.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. You want to talk about memorable? There you go.
Yeah. Okay.
Definitely.
And like he told us when he was on here that anytime he sells any piece of merchandise, he includes a picture of his knee or knee pics, and that whenever someone says hot sauce, the first thing I think of is, oh yeah, knee pics.
The guy who sells knee pics.
Guy who sells knee pics.
Got to make a living.
Mm-hmm. All right, Mega.
It's a living.
All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
No, we have a whole graphic for mine because I kind of bullied Dex into making it. But
holy, I did it for fun.
I'm scared.
So, like, listen, you don't know this because I've been mild-mannered because new people scare me at all times. But I like to spew hate and vitriol. That's sort of my gimmick, the reason I'm here. And so I want you to think back across your entire time in esports, any and everything you've done, right? And I want you to think, the pettier the better is what I like to say with this question. But what is one thing or one event that you recall that really grinded your gears?
So you say specifically event, or can it be like whatever?
It could be any and everything. It could be this guy bumped into me one time and I wasn't happy.
I got it for you right off the top of my head. Right off the top of my head. The lack of consideration that some people can have for casters' time. And what I mean by that is the idea that you can reach out on short notice and expect the person to be ready to go. Especially like I've literally had people not recently, but it's happened more than once, which was enough. Reach out to me. Kickoff is now. Can you cast? I'm like, for me personally, like there is a level of professionalism that I want to present. Like for me anymore, like the least amount of time, depending on the opportunity, might maybe be 12 hours or something like that. But to genuinely like a few hours before kickoff, be like, hey, can you do this thing or whatever on the spot, especially like right away. For me, lack of consideration of the person's time, and for me anymore, like honest to goodness, is like technically I can make it happen. Like here's my expedited advance thing. Here's my Venmo in advance. Hit me up. Maybe we can make it work. And it's not going to be probably the form and fashion that you like, but it's whatever. So yeah, I would just say treating casters like robots, like can just be wound up and do our thing with whatever. I don't believe, or producers, right? To go out there when you can do something really, really well, casting, producing, whatever, there gets to be a point when you do it so well that people think it's easy. And that can be casting, producing, or even like Wholesome League. Because not only do I have the casting, producing, we've got the bot we've got to run, things like that. And people can just treat it like a standard viewer game where you go, you show up, you get the name and the password, you go play. Like that's standard, right? Okay, that's fair. But when you have something different, something unique, and it still runs well, they put that same level of idea of difficulty on it. And I think it is that lack of consideration. That's one of the big things for me is just not being treated as a human being, but being treated like a robot, like a commodity, and not asking like, do you like necessarily like, do you have anything like big, like taking your life into account? It's just, hey, can you cast? Like, what is that? Like, I mean, I don't. I mean, I found it really offensive at some point. I'm like, especially people that I've worked with before that know I have a child, that I am a single dad, and all this kind of stuff. Like, what is this? Did we just not pay attention? So as far as stuff like that, yeah, just disrespect of casters' time and not treating that with proper respect. Or anybody, producers, casters, whatever, people that make things run that people think, oh, that's easy. They're just talking to a mic, or they're just moving scenes in OBS. Like actually, that's not how it works. So.
I mean, like we've talked about it in the past on this podcast, especially like anyone who says, hey, this is an easy thing to do. I could do it. Do it.
Do it.
Fucking do it.
Go ahead.
Try it.
Go. Try.
Step up.
You want?
Don't talk about it. Be about it. Yeah.
Like, if you're a producer, okay. If you're saying, oh, the producer, the stream sucks. I can tell the producer's not doing anything. Okay. Here's a package. Learn it. Here's all you have to do. Learn it. Go. Do it.
Yep.
Go. Run.
Yeah.
You're not even get the chance to crawl. You're gonna have to fly. Okay.
Yep. Go do the thing. Yeah. No. Genuinely. I just think there have been times, not all the time. I have a great community, but there have been a person here and there that I mean, this was just for, I mean, viewer games not that long ago. That's just like I'm talking or whatever. We're having a conversation. Like it's chill. It's a vibe, and they're just like, make the lobby. I'm like, who do you think I am? You know what I mean? Not a please, not nothing. I'm like, and you're paying me how much for this? Like, that's not how this works. But I understand that sometimes the space can skew younger, but that's no excuse. You know what I mean? Again, it's just a basic respect thing. I think it is important as well. Casters, producers, streamers, whatever. I know it's hard. I know it's challenging. I know a lot of people do not enjoy confrontation, but the sooner you start establishing boundaries and enforcing them, the easier it gets. And then ultimately, like I have had to put those down and be firm about it. Not necessarily be a jerk, but just be firm and like, no, this is how it works. You will respect me in this way. If that's too much of an issue, there's the unfollow button. You know what I mean? Yeah, and that goes both ways for me as well. Like I try my absolute best to make sure like my Discord server is as welcoming as possible. That you don't get bugged all the time. I have it where you very specifically have to opt into pings, so you're not getting like I'm a part of over 100 Discord servers for one reason or another. And if I get everyone pings from all over the place, like obviously I'm not gonna enjoy that. It's gonna, or I'm not gonna enjoy that. It's gonna annoy the hell out of me, and I'm gonna leave. But ultimately, I think respect for other people's time. It goes so far in life. But yeah, just that's been the big thing, is not treating me as a human being just like I'm a vending machine. And on top of that, I largely what I do now are paid gigs. Sometimes it's not the case. Sometimes it's just a project I really want to work with. But just assuming that the person will do it for free, right? Just assuming, oh yeah, come here and do it. And to be honest with you, yeah, there was a point in time when, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier on, when trying to do everything you possibly can to get reps, to get people to know you in the space and everything like that. And I am very, very blessed to be able to say this. All right. And I'm very grateful that I can say that, or this, that time has passed. And I genuinely have struggled to make the transition, although it's gotten a little bit better now, to make the transition away from individuals that I would work with, for free, because I was trying to get that, to paid opportunities, because those opportunities have gotten more and more, and it's something that I have to take into account, because I too have bills to pay. I would like monies, you know what I mean? So to have to tell a person no, or at least be like, yeah, I would like to do it, here's my rate, does that work out for you to be able to make that happen? That can kind of be challenging, because obviously people can be like, oh, you're big timing us, or you don't respect us or anything. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Genuinely not. It's just one of those things where what I'm looking to do, or what another caster is looking to do, that can continue to grow in that way. It's a disconnect. And I think the other thing is, so many people, like, they'll put in that time and they won't necessarily grow to that point. Like, maybe folks will know other casters that go out there, they do it fun, do it as a hobby or whatever, but they're not looking to go beyond that. So they don't really associate that, right? Somebody does do that, it's just kind of a like, what the heck? I've been fortunate in that when I've had that communication, things haven't really gone awry or anything like that. But yeah, I think just overall lack of consideration for folks as human beings.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, you happy with that, Mega?
Listen, it's very real. Like, I'm gonna be so, like, this entire episode has just been very real and very like I don't know, mild mannered would be the way I sum it up compared to our normal shenanigans. Like, well, like, to put it bluntly, we're normally crack fiends, and just today, I don't know what it is. We're all just like on our best behavior.
It's that dad energy is what it is. Everybody gather around, children. Let's
listen. We're still in the holidays. We got to have our best faces on. Santa's still watching. He'll come back and take our stuff away. We start acting up.
Yeah, Santa doesn't come back until after Santa doesn't stay away until after the New Year, so we're being very, very nice. But, guys, do you have anything else here for our guests before we sign off?
Yeah.
I don't
My
think my
knowledge
brain
has been satiated.
I have to say the same. I think my brain's no longer able to function for much longer. So yeah, I'm gonna cut my losses.
That's a rough way to put it, but okay.
Well, what do you? Hey, I appreciate honest. I would rather people be honest. Honestly.
Yeah. But hey, Monkeyshines, thank you so much, man, for being our guest this week.
Course,
It was awesome to have you on. It really was.
Yeah.
Hunter, Mega,
thanks so much for having me.
Hey, man, if there's a time later down the line where you want to come back and we reach out, if you're down to, would love to have you back on. Probably will be a little bit.
Absolutely.
We like to normally space it out. But again,
of course,
thank you so much, Hunter, Mega. Thank you guys so much as well for joining me, and thank you all for watching or listening to this. Also, Happy New Year, as this comes out on the 30th. Have a safe New Year wherever you're celebrating it. Enjoy it with whoever it is you're going to be enjoying it with, or like I have the last couple years by myself. Enjoy it. Have a happy New Year. We'll see y'all next year for, as always, another episode of this podcast. Don't know who will be. You'll figure it out when I do. But again, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you follow us on Spotify and subscribe on YouTube. But until next week, thank you all and have a good night.